Do people with disabilities want to have sex? You've listened to one person talk about fantasies for
The answer is yes. And
yes.
I have, as living in provider world, I have talked to a lot of people with disabilities that very much want to have sex.
One. Hi, everybody. Guess what? It's Tuesday, which means it's an all new episode of the Nick Speaks podcast. I'm starting to sound like one of my Facebook posts. But anyway, because that's how I usually start off my Facebook post. I am your host, Nick Comstock, and I am so glad that you guys are here on this Tuesday because we're going to have an awesome time with a very early repeat guest. I don't know if I've ever had a repeat guest on this quickly after they've been on. We're going to have a lot of fun today. And you think our last episode was fun? Oh, God. Wait and stay tuned. You're going to love it. But first, I have to say thank you to Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio for sponsoring this episode. You guys, the holidays are coming up. And a couple weeks ago, I talked about everybody's annoying Uncle Fred at the Thanksgiving table. But you know what? If there's an annoying Uncle Fred, there's also a crazy Aunt Rita that nobody likes to deal with. And I can't think of a better way to deal with a crazy Aunt Rita who thinks that raisins go in potato salad. I can't think of a crazy way to deal with her than going and getting a massage so you're not like, why in the bleak did you put raisins in your potato salad? And you'll just learn not to touch the potato salad. So Columbus Restorative Massage has said, we will give the awesome listeners and viewers of Nick Speaks 20% off their next visit. So listen, before you go deal with crazy Aunt Rita and the raisins in her nasty potato salad that nobody eats, why don't you go get a massage at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio? Put in speak up at checkout when you register online for your appointment for 20% off. And I'm not saying that it'll totally help you from confronting crazy Aunt Rita about the raisins in the potato salad. It might just take the edge off. So go get your massage and thank me later. Use the promo code speak up at checkout. Okay, you guys, now I'm ready to introduce this guest. I almost skipped the ad because I was so excited to have her back. When we did our last episode, we did something in Nick Speaks history that hasn't been done since, which is we did a 2-hour episode. And everybody asked me, well, how long is the episode's going to be? And I usually tell them between an hour and a half. And that was not the case on the day that our guest showed up. So please help me welcome back the founder and CEO of Real Talk, Tiff Bowen. What's up, girl?
Hey, you couldn't get rid of me that quickly. I'm back.
I know. People are like, Nick, your introductions are so damn long. Can you please? I'm sorry. So I know our friend Danielle might skip through the first 30 seconds, but she better not though. So
Oh, I mean, I feel like Crazy Aunt Rita is a really specific story for you. Do you have a crazy Aunt Rita?
well, no, I don't. I actually I don't have all the crazy people in my family are on my dad's side, and I can say that because they don't listen to my podcast. So
We're
and
gonna hear it
plus,
anyways.
most of them are, well, if they do, hi crazies. I don't really know anybody on my dad's side of the family anyway, but they're just different. I wouldn't say crazy, but different. But, you know, I had to come up with something funny to sell, massages. So
I I love it. I thought it
that's
was great.
that's what I did. A couple weeks ago, I did crazy Uncle Fred.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe next week we'll come up with a um tagline about I don't know, the crazy brother that lives in the basement and everybody tries to avoid him. I don't know. But that almost borders line of making fun of people, which I like making fun of people, but sometimes I can take it. I don't know. We'll see. But enough about crazy Aunt Rita and Uncle Fred. Unless you have a crazy Aunt Frida that you would like to share the world.
I don't. I wish I could say that I did, but I do not. I've
Okay.
I've got some crazy family that probably wouldn't listen to this podcast anyways.
Yeah.
But no Ritas, no
No,
raisins and
it does.
potato salad.
No raisins and potatoes. Okay, okay, wait a minute. You know why I brought that up? Because, okay, so last year during Thanksgiving time, especially around the holidays, people start um taping like their get-togethers and recording them and posting them on TikTok. Well, somebody went to, I don't know, it was some family member's house, and they had taken the foil off the potato salad, and there was like all these crazy things in it that you would not put in a potato salad, like raisins and craisins. And but then, so the ten foil pans that you buy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, FYI, you guys are supposed to take the paper off the bottom of the pan
No.
before you use it. Like,
No. Are there people that don't know that?
apparently, because this jacked up family member who already screwed up the potato salad didn't take the paper off the bottom of the pan.
Ew, and you know what? Like that paper is being held there by like adhesive. It's like glue underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yikes. Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
that's what made me. You asked me if I had a crazy Aunt Rita, but no. But what made me think of the raisins and the potato salad was that, because I actually do edit the video and was like, no, oh my God. And yeah, that's what made me think of that. Because we also mentioned the holidays, and yeah, that's when people tape their weirdest interactions. But anyway, so I introduced you as the CEO and founder of Real Talk. We talked a little bit about Real Talk last time, and I had just completed a training with you, uh, which is how we got connected. Me, Danielle, and you. That's how we got connected, was through a Real Talk thing that you were doing. And I think Kelly Shuck, who's also been on this podcast, is the one that sent me the flyer and said, hey, check this out.
Yep.
And I was so glad I did, because you and Danielle are two of the coolest people in the world.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I will say, Danielle got offended last time, though, because I called you my bestie. So I'm sorry. I thought you could have more than one. Um, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you cook for me, Danielle, we might be able to move you up in the ranks. But
I mean, here's the thing. If Danielle wants to be your bestie, that's fine. She's just gonna have to come fight me. So we can fight about it.
the Jerry Springer show is no longer in production, and Jerry's gone. So I feel like somebody needs to take up that mantle.
Right. She knows where to find me.
Maybe, maybe. maybe I can find a camera crew and we could have Nick Speaks Raw or something.
Right. Right.
So, but that was so great, number one, because I don't know who came up with the food ideas
Hmm.
for that day, probably Danielle and you and other people, but it was just so on point. Like we just kept grazing like all day long. It was awesome. Had amazing donuts. Donato's really is not my favorite, but for some reason there were boxes and boxes of it, and I was just eating. I would disappear from the training room and go back just eat.
And come back with some food.
I'd be like, okay, oh hi, what are we doing now?
I'm sorry, I missed the discussion. I have 5 pieces of pizza now. Um, Listen, one thing about me, if you do a training with me, like we're gonna have food. I am all about the food. We're gonna have food and we're gonna have good food. So that's how I roll. If you don't have good food, like I'm not interested in being there.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't understand about like these. See, this is when we can get into the advocacy pieces of it because I don't understand about all these advocacy meetings and all these, state board meetings. I've been on a county board. Okay. I don't understand. Well, we can't have food because, the state doesn't want us to pay for that. So when did all of a sudden we become fiscally responsible? I mean,
Well,
do you really think that the government's going to freak out over you ordering 8 to 10 pizzas? Or
right. Like I don't know that I mean, I didn't know that our budget was gonna be drastically better if we didn't spend $80 on pizza.
like, or like you come and you're at an all day summit, which I've been at these two. You're at an all day summit, and they do a box lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand there are a lot of people out there like they will go balls to the wall for box lunch.
Who are those people though? I need to know who those people are.
But I no. Like for example, I have a speaking engagement on Friday, which by the time this airs, that will have already passed. But I have a speaking engagement on Friday, and they are having catered food, and it's gonna be delicious. And I am like, yes, they must have heard that I was coming, and they must have heard that my complaints are no, no food at speaking events is not allowed, and um, we've got to have hot lunch.
Good lunch. You know what? Listen, I will do a box lunch with the rest of them if I have to. But something that really irks me, and I'm gonna sound like I'm really complaining here about some small stuff, but when you get a lunch and they give you a sandwich and they give you no condiments to go on said sandwich, none, nothing. So you're just supposed to eat that dry, whatever it is that they have given you, and it's so dry.
That's been sitting there for 3 hours
Right. Like,
for you to
I
come
can't
get
do
it.
that. Like, please throw me a packet of mayonnaise. Just give me a packet of mayonnaise.
Well, I know a lot of people from DODD, the Department of Disabilities, listen to my podcast because you all tell me. So, first of all, hello. Second
Ideas,
of
babe.
all, fix your fix your fucking conference food. I can't. You've got to do this. Like at least I was at the main disability conference for people with disabilities in Ohio
Hmm.
this past couple weeks ago. At least they have the sense to have catered food. It's hot. It's good. Like do it. Do better at these other conferences. Like I don't understand. Oh, and here's a bone I have to pick
Uh-oh.
with the people who went to Synergy because we're going to talk about everything today. It's everything in the kitchen sink. So when they did this energy conference a couple weeks ago, I have bones to pick with normal humans. When they did this energy conference a couple weeks ago, I noticed that they usually do like breakfast, lunch, and they usually do a dinner. But this year, they cut out the dinner and said everybody has to fend for yourself. The reason they did that is because people were going outside the conference and buying food, but you had already paid for 3 meals that were going to be included. What the hell is wrong with you people? I'm trying not to use the F bomb, but like, why? To me, that's disrespectful. Like, why would you do that? I mean, you're getting hot, good food because the dinner last year, because I was a speaker. Don't ask me why I wasn't this year. The the dinner last year was Tiffany's like, oh god. She's like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just not. I'm not. The dinner last year was like, I guess it was like a whole barbecue, and I should have stayed because it was a whole barbecue. I'm like, why would you guys go out and get food if there's a whole barbecue? Like, why?
So, so you're telling me that because some of the people at the conference, not all of them, some of the people went out to get their own food, that means that nobody gets dinner. No,
Yeah, you have to pay for it on yourself. You have to pay for it on your own.
that's, I mean, that's an interesting way to go about having a conference, I guess.
Well, because here's the thing, and so I found out that it's like $60,000 to pay for like 3 meals a day. So they were like, there's no way, which I totally get it. And
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about finances and disability finances today. So I support this. Like, I'm not gonna pay um $60,000 worth of food if $40,000 of it is left over, because then it's all just going to go to waste.
Yeah.
So I I get that. And by the way, Synergy's food was fantastic. They had like this really good chicken, but the star of the show for me this year at Synergy was the carrot cake. I'm a huge carrot cake fan, and oh my god.
Carrot cake is amazing. It is so delicious.
Although I think they put raisins in it. And I'm not a raisin fan. Other than that, as we know, because raisins and potatoes, but
What is
I'm
the
not,
what is this human urge to add raisins to things?
I don't know. I think it's don't get mad at me, elderly population.
Oh no.
I think it's an old people thing.
It might be. I'm sorry. Sorry, boomers, but it's
I,
your
I don't like, because they have the raisin oatmeal pies, and I'm like, why? Anyway,
fault.
so yeah, all that to say is we're gonna have a lot of fun today. Stay tuned. So you are the founder and CEO of Real Talk. Oh, I know how we got on that, because that's how I found you, and I had to say about your food. So, so you are the founder and CEO of Real Talk. We talked about it a little bit last time. We touched on it along with a bunch of other things, sex included. So if you don't want to talk about sex, skip this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Parental advisory. Parental advisory.
yes, parental advisory. Yes. Um, so why don't you tell people why you started Real Talk and what its mission is? Take us through that.
Yeah. So, so Real Talk is part of a bigger piece of what I do, which is coaching and consulting. So I am basically in the business of let me help you help yourself. Uh,
Okay.
That's what I do, right? So I really spend a lot of time talking to people and helping them assess what their goals are, whether it's personal goals, professional goals, and then just like keeping their project moving along, and making sure that they feel some accountability and they feel like they're accomplishing these goals that they set. And part of that also, I got into this with, I come from, you know, working as a DSP. I know we talked about that last episode. I've done everything in the field in terms of provider. I've been a DSP, I've been a coordinator, I've been executive director all the way up. And so part of the other reason I got into this on my own is also being able to not only help people with disabilities think about what their goals might be or explore more about themselves that maybe they don't get to explore on a regular basis, but also how can we make the best DSPs we can make too. And so that is what Real Talk was born out of. And so Real Talk is currently, and I'll say currently because I have some things coming up. Real Talk is currently a class, and it essentially it gets into some of the things about like how do we develop relationships with people, all kinds of relationships. How do we develop boundaries with people? How do we figure out what it is that we want from somebody else? And whether that's as simple as, is this person being a good friend to me? Am I being a good friend to this person? Is my family member, like, is that a good relationship? All the way up to, hey, I'm in a relationship, a romantic relationship, and now I want to explore, like, is this the right time for us to have sex? And what does that look like? And how do I make sure that I do that in a way that I'm comfortable? So, the class covers a lot of that. And it comes from a place of to be able to really pursue you as a person, you have to think about a lot of these things and you have to think about them to determine like how to get to the most authentic you,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what that's born out of, really.
Well, you said something about, we talk about how, when's it okay to have sex and when's it the right time? I'm a terrible person at that
Mhm.
because if you smell good,
If you smell good, then it's the right time. Let's go.
if you smell good and you're like looking all fine and for me, if you're in a suit and tie, um,
Good.
and you've got the good clone on, and we we might we might have to do some role playing that I'm your boss, and um in order for you to get your paycheck.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
but I will leave that to the imagination, or unless you want like an extra, like maybe I don't know, five.
I would love to hear you proposition me so that I can get my paycheck.
Well, you're not in a suit and tie.
I am not today. No, unfortunately. And I'm not really a tie person. I'm more of a bow tie person, to be honest. But
And sorry, I have a motorcycle going up down my street. If anybody can hear that, um, so and you're not of the chocolate persuasion I like.
I'm not. I'm not.
So I don't know if I can.
I'm
I'm
not your type, Nick. That's okay.
not. No, well, I'm definitely that type, but you're not. No. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Well,
When it was the proper time. Yeah. So I'm
yeah.
not like if you smell good and you're like flirty with me and you're like all touchy feely, and we might just have to hook up to my Hoyer lift and get
Where lived.
hook up to my Hoyer lift because I'm gonna be a Hoyer. Um
Nick, or you, Nick, not the Hoyer lift.
yeah, let's talk about the Hoyer lift. Anyway.
But
Um
I mean, I think you bring up a good point about that. Like, because, and that's the thing about real talk that we talk about a lot is a lot of those things they're not black and white, right? They look different for everybody. So there might be situations where you are like, yeah, you know what? I feel very comfortable right now. Like this is the next step that I want to take and I'm ready to have sex with this person. And that's totally okay if you've thought through it and you understand what your boundaries are and what you're good with, what you're not good with. You know, your partner understands what you're good with, what you're not good with, and if that's cool and you're good, go for it. You know, there might be other people who might say, "Hey, I really need to take more time and like build trust with somebody before I feel super comfortable." And that's okay. And that's the big thing about real talk is just understanding that it looks different for everybody. And there's some, kind of basic ground rules about like you got to love yourself. You got to figure out how to love yourself. You got to figure out how to know your body. And you got to figure out how to know what you want and don't want. And as soon as you do those things, like then it looks different from there. Okay, what are the next steps? It's hard to say. It depends on what you want to do. You might be like, "Hey, I'm a one night stand kind of guy and let's go." Or you might be like, "Nah, I really want a long-term relationship and I want to wait and see how it goes." And that's okay. Both of those are okay.
okay, well, for that, I will say I'm because I get it. These metaphors are so bad. I get attached very easily. So, um, I'm not a one night stand type of person. I like once I fall too quickly. Like I'm like, oh, you love me, I love you too. Unless you're like, you don't know me, which I just had this happen on a dating app that I'm on, Facebook. Um, and I was messaging people, or people were messaging me, and one person hadn't talked to me for like 3 weeks. And all we said was, "What you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm doing something." And I was like, "I'm doing something." And then he didn't talk to me for like 3 weeks. Then he texts me like, "What you doing?" Or well, no. The new thing is wide, because
Yep.
nobody wants to take the time to type out "what you doing." Like
Yeah.
seriously, that's just like I'm like, can we get back to using some actual grammar? Anyway, so he was like wide, and I'm like, well, I'm coming back from a trip right now, no, I said I'm getting ready to go on a trip. And he waited for like, and then he responded. Actually, he responded. He was like, can I ask a big favor? And I already knew because I've been in this situation before. I was like, this bitch is getting ready to ask me for money. And I was actually on the road with my caregiver at the time because, like I said, I was going on a trip.
Yeah.
And I I looked at my caregiver. I said, he's getting ready to ask me for money. He goes, okay. And I was like, and so that, but here's the thing, he waited a whole entire hour to get up the courage to ask me for $20 to get an Uber to go to work. Like, bro, you have a phone, you're connected to Facebook dating, hop a bus for $3 and get your own self to work. Like, I just don't understand. So I blocked him immediately, honestly,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I've done the whole thing of, somebody said to me in the past, I have a heart condition and I'm out of money for my medication. So I'm stupid. I was stupid at that time.
This was a stupid Nick time. That's fine.
Yeah, stupid next time.
Yeah.
And I I sent him an undisclosed amount of money, uh,
Which tells me it was a lot.
enough for me to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And yeah, but then he was in the hospital and his truck broke down, and and he had no way to get the emergency room. And and here's the greatest thing. Okay, so I live in like a big city, and which I can say that on here, it's no problem. But so I live in Columbus, and would you believe, Tiff, that he said, I just bought a house in Columbus. What an amazing coincidence.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So I have not had much luck. And if anybody from Meta or Facebook is listening to this, your dating app is trash. Although I'm still on it because it's the only one that's really legitimately free, and you don't have to pay to look at your messages. You don't, well, that should be a good thing because in my experience, people only message me once or twice and then they're done. So I'm like, okay, or I end up blocking them because they need money. But anyway, so yeah, it's for me, I'm not a one night stand type of person, considering the fact it's hard for me to stand as it is. Um,
You said it, not me. You
yes,
went here, not me.
I yes, I did. I I don't stand anyway, so I'm just one of those one nighter people.
Got
Uh, I'm like a one night lay down.
I I can get behind a one night lay down. That sounds great.
Yes, a one night
That sounds low effort, to be
a
honest.
one
And
night lay down. And you know what the greatest thing about people with disabilities and having sex with us is? Well, the greatest thing for us is that, well, I'm not really mobile. So the greatest thing is, you know, we just have to lay there and enjoy it.
you don't have to do any of the work. That's what you're telling me.
I don't.
Okay. All right. So Nick doesn't like to do any of the work.
Well, I do. I just need a lot of practice. I don't know how to do
Fair.
some the other stuff though. Like I think my kissing game is getting better.
Okay.
People are like, oh my God.
I
this,
know people are like, shut this podcast down immediately. Stop.
this is did I subscribe to Sirius XM and turn on the Playboy channel? No, you did not. Hi, this is still Nick Speaks. Um
Here, we are getting ready to introduce Nick's OnlyFan. So just
yeah, so if there's anybody out there that just want to look at me stare at a wheel, sit in a wheelchair and try to do a one night stand, even though I can't stand, period.
you I can't. Don't.
So yeah, let me know. But no, seriously, so my kissing game is getting better.
Good.
Other things we won't talk about because I'm not trying to get banned.
That
Um
crosses really into the parental discretion
yeah,
territory.
yeah. Well, we've already said that. So parental discretion is advice. Anyway, um so yeah, but I'm not a one and done type of guy. And I'm also not a um thruple person. Some people are.
Fair.
God bless you. Or I'm not. I'm a if I'm either dating a woman, which fat chance. Um
Oh, you got so offended by saying that. You're like, if I dated a woman, whoa, no, absolutely not.
if I dated a woman, fat chance, or if I'm dating a man, which is more likely, then um I would make it exclusively clear that we are not gonna be with Fred, Tom, and everybody else. Um, because I'm not like that's just it's hard enough for me to manage my own emotions, let alone three other people. And so I don't know how people like Cody on Sisters Wives and um the what's the new show, The Life of a Mormon Wife or something, or
I Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
yeah, so I don't,
Yeah.
which I anyway, so yeah, I'm not that type of person at all.
Yeah.
This podcast has gone off the rails today. I apologize.
Quickly lost control. We quickly lost
Yes,
control.
we did, but so real talk is in, and honestly, this is why real talk is here, because you think about it, um, as much gasping as people have done within the last few minutes or so, a lot of people think that people with disabilities are not, they're not interested in sex, they don't want it, they don't think about it, they don't desire it. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. I probably think about it way too much.
Yeah.
I desire it way too much. My ex-boyfriend, when we first met, which we did meet online, um, he was like, literally, all you wanted to do was suck my face off.
Oh, oh,
And so he was just like, man, you want it all the time. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've never had it. And then people have always told me that sex is overrated. I've had sex. I don't think that. So I guess you have to have it consistently to think that it's overrated, because I'm like still at a stage where I'm like, I can't get enough. Uh,
yeah.
so if this episode teaches you anything, I'm a horn dog, and and uh I like I like chocolate men. If
Okay.
that teaches you two things. And to my church people who listen to this, because I know a lot of you do, just pray, okay? Just that's all I can say. Um, but yeah, and that's one of the things that you went over in our conversation in the class was the sex. Um, you know, when, how long should we wait? Um, being honest and saying if you have something, which is another thing, which is something why I'm not into one night stands either, really, is because I don't know where that person's been. I mean, you can tell me that you're clean, but
Yeah. That's,
are you?
I mean, yeah, you've got to be able to build that trust and, if you're not sure and you don't feel like you have that trust built, like you can go get tested together. It's fairly easy to go get tested for things. Um, Sex is a big topic and people want to know about it. They want to know a lot about it, but at the same time, people are uncomfortable talking about it because historically, sex has kind of been this taboo thing that a lot of people are doing it, but nobody's really talking about what that looks like. And
Yeah.
in high school, when I went to high school, and I'm guessing probably when you went to high school too, and it's probably still the case for a lot of high schools now today, you do get a sex ed class, but it is very basic and it is very much so geared towards able-bodied heterosexuals. That's what it's geared towards. So nobody has talked to people with disabilities about, okay, well, if I wanted to have sex, how? How could I? What could I do? Right? And
Yeah.
and nobody's talking about, okay, that's cool if it's between a man or a woman, but I'm a woman and I like women. So what does that look like for me? I don't know. And so there's just this huge lack of education. And, like you said, there's a lot of people that when you say, okay, people with disabilities want to have sex too, they look at you like you're crazy. They look at you like that's not a thing, that they can't consent to that, like, and that is just such a backwards way of thinking. Like, sex is something that all adult humans can have, can want. Not everybody wants sex. That's totally fair. But a lot of people do, right? And so it's like, okay, but how do I really figure out what it is that I want or don't want if the information that I'm being given is so limited?
Yeah, that's true too. And I want to say, because this, I'm about to turn your world upside down.
Oh
I want
boy.
to say, because you said something to me, you're like, Nick, you probably had a sex ed class. No, I didn't, because here we go. It was a private Christian school. So we were taught that pretty much, they use the scripture, if a man look upon a woman, he's already lusted after her. He's already basically had sex with her. And so I mean, imagine coming from the IFB, which is the Independent Fundamental Baptist Movement, where you're told not to even uh, touch a girl, not to even think about it. And then on your wedding night, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Because I mean, we were at a point where it was, girls on one side, guys on the other. We couldn't even sit together. So it was a whole big thing about. And then when you get married, it's like, oh, sex is great now. Go do it. What? So,
Well, and sometimes, like, and listen, I'm not going to knock anybody's religion, but I do know that many religions choose not to teach sex ed. That's a choice. Um, and there are a lot of people that believe in, waiting until marriage. Again, that's a choice. I have no judgment either way,
that's
because
a choice. Yeah.
you can make that choice. And again, it's what you're comfortable with. Um, I think where it becomes a disservice is for the people that are like, well, maybe I don't want to wait until marriage. What does it look like? Or
Yeah.
it can become a disservice because something that people don't talk enough about is, you know, are we compatible sexually? Like, do we connect sexually?
Yeah.
And if you are waiting and it's not something you want to wait on, if it's not something you want to wait for, but you're waiting and then you do finally do this with this person and then you don't like it. You don't like it because you're not compatible with that person, right?
And that would be a scary thing to come across. And I'm glad nobody that I've been with, which hasn't been many, um, has said, Nick, I didn't enjoy that. Like I mean, that would just crush me, I think.
It would be tough.
I
Yeah.
mean, I do the jokes, like all I have to do is lay there, but honestly, that would crush me. If
Yeah.
somebody that I was with, they said, I didn't enjoy that sexual experience.
But that's where those conversations come in, right? That's where you got to have real talk with people. That's why I called it real talk, because you got to have real talk with people. And those are things that you have to not have to, but you get comfortable with somebody, and it's okay to ask questions, right? It's okay to be like, "Hey, like, what are you into? What turns you on? What makes you happy? Like, what do you enjoy doing?" And so if you talk about those things ahead of time and and then maybe they say something, like you said earlier, maybe you start talking to the person, you're getting to know them on a deeper, like more intimate level, and maybe they say, hey, I really feel like I identify that I'm polyamorous. And so I really would pursue relationships with multiple people at a time. And that's okay, right? Like, people identify different ways. But if you don't ask the questions to get to know that ahead of time, because Nick, you're like, no, thank you. That's not who I am. And
Yeah.
so by asking the right questions ahead of time, because you know what to ask, A, B, you are comfortable asking, and C, you know what it is that you want. And there's just so many people with disabilities and then without that they don't even know what it is that they want. And that's, real talk is about learning about you as a person, but there just is there's just not a lot of knowledge when it comes to people with disabilities. Like, I'm going to use you as an example, Nick. Just, I'm sure that because you didn't have sex ed, right? I'm
Yeah.
kind of speak on your thought processes maybe, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. But I'm
Mhm.
sure that when it came time for you to start thinking about sex, that you were probably like, "Well, I'm in a wheelchair. Like, how do I make this happen?" You know?
Well, I had so if my parents ever listen to this episode, they're gonna have a bunch of shocks. Um
Cover your ears, mom and dad.
so so I've had lots of conversations with people, and they told me, well, you would be in I'm going to use letters here. So I'm not going to say actual things. I'm going to use letter. They would say one would be letter T,
Mm-hmm.
you would be letter B. So if you guys don't know what that means, you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast right now. And so for me, that's the way it was just always explained. But I've started to wonder now, like, is there anything else that I could do besides be letter B? Because I'm physically challenged in that way. I don't know. I haven't explored it that much. Um, but yeah, there was lots of conversations. Of course, hell no, not with my parents. Um, because again, I grew up in a culture where sex is a wonderful thing. God created it, but don't you dare have it and don't you dare think about it until after you're married. So, I mean, it was kind of like it was really taboo. And then um my my dad decided to try to have talks with all of his children in their mid to late 20s about sex, which is kind of like, we've already seen, and some of us have already. Good luck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just very chaotic during that time because when my dad came to me and wanted to have the conversation, I was like, no. I'm not going to have the conversation with you because you've already told me, number one, that I'm never going to get married and I'm never going to move out. So if I'm never going to get married, why do I need to have sex? Now, trust me, I had thought about it. I had had the conversations. I had watched videos.
Yep.
So I just didn't want to have the conversation with him because he had already said that it wasn't possible. So
Yeah.
what's the point of having a conversation with you about something that you've already said is not going to happen because of
Right.
your disability? So, so I didn't have that. I didn't have that conversation with him, thank God. But I got to tell you, so when some of my brothers were coerced into having this conversation, they would come to my room and be like, "Nick, she's drawing pictures." Like, they're like
Picture.
13 and 12, but they're actually in their mid 20s. He's drawing pictures, he's doing this, he's saying, I'm like, this is like regular phys ed stuff where you not phys ed, not PE, regular regular sex education stuff. where you're supposed to be drawing pictures in the sixth grade and the areas and where things go and, all that stuff. Not in your mid 20s. When our generation discovered the internet.
Yep.
So, yeah, that that was my experience with um desiring sex and wanting sex. Which was I wanted it all the time. I talked about it all the time with my friends. Still do. Um, One of the things that really turned me on to it was thanks for TV shows like Days of Our Lives and Passions, um, which is soap operas, which aren't really around anymore.
Soaps. I think they're still around. I think
They're
Days of
still
Our Lives
around,
is still running.
but I think they're all on streaming now. Like I only General Hospital is the only one that I think is still on network television.
Yeah.
Maybe Young and the Restless too. I'm not sure. But I uh I got really entangled with the Days of Our Lives because they had a British guy on there. His name was James. He played EJ. I don't know what his last name is, but he's so gorgeous. Um his name is James, and in real life his name is James, but he played EJ, and he was a British actor, and he was on Days of Our Lives for years. Um Anyway, so thanks to like soap operas, like I got my fill of watching it and seeing other things happening, and then I was like, oh, I wonder what it would be like if this person and I were together. You
Yeah.
know, would they be able to pick me up like that? Would they? Which I'm 260 pounds, so picking me up is not going to happen.
Which
To
is why you said let's get in the Hoyer lift and let's go. So I get it.
Yeah, well, I don't think two of us can fit in the Hoyer lift, but which is why we would have to go on there pretty quick and get on the bed as quick as possible, and then do some other things. Like I like people are like, is this Playboy or what? I know, I'm sorry,
How far are y'all gonna go? We're still going.
but I'm like I don't like just getting right into it.
Yeah.
I like the whole build up, the whole taking off of things and talking during the whole process. Like, ooh, you're so hot. Ooh, like just I have a whole fantasy world built that I've built myself. So if anybody has had any questions over the last, I don't know, 30 minutes of do people with disabilities want to have sex, you've listened to one person talk about his fantasies for
The answer is yes. And
yes.
I have, as living in provider world, I have talked to a lot of people with disabilities that very much want to have sex.
Yeah, which we said we were going to talk about this a lot last time, which we did, but we didn't talk about it as much in depth, and it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So this is almost like a part two.
Yeah.
But um one thing you said about consent, that's one thing that I'm really worried about too, Tiffany, is especially with the dating apps.
Yeah.
Like I've come across so many people with disabilities and they don't look like they have disabilities, you know. And so then I'll get my number and we'll talk about things that we're gonna do to each other if we ever see each other, and all that type of stuff. And then I'll talk to them, and it's like they're cognitively, in my opinion, not there. And it's like, so I immediately have to cut the conversation off.
Yeah.
'Cause
And that's
I'm not trying to get in any trouble.
right. Well, and that's, something we probably should have made that clear from the beginning. When we are talking about people having sex, and I'm just saying in general, we're talking about two consenting adults, right? Or more if you're into that. But the key is they're all consenting. And I do recognize that there are some people with disabilities that their cognitive functioning level, unfortunately, they're not able to make an informed decision about if they are comfortable having sex. So you bring up a good point, Nick. Like it's really important to understand, like, is that person in a place where they can consent to something like that? Like, do they understand how it works? Do they understand, what it involves? And are they able to say yes or no?
Right.
Um, that's important because not everybody can. So, I don't want people walking away from this podcast thinking that we're just saying, oh, everybody should just be able to say yes or no if they want. I do acknowledge that there are some people that are not able to do that.
Right. Right. And that's a good thing you say that. And also, that's what I've been wondering because I've come across so many people with disabilities on this app. And then it's like, they are, well, how are we going to see each other? Because I can't, come and I can't see you and all this sort of stuff. And then they're like, oh, my caregiver can bring me. And then I talk to them and I can tell right off the bat that they're not cognitively there. And so it's like, I'm not even gonna, no.
Yeah.
So it's very sad because it's very clear by some of these people that I've talked to, like they're very into what they want. They know what they want. Well, I wouldn't say they know what they want. They know what they've heard what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so and then to find out that sometimes that's not able to happen for that person is sad because everybody should be able to have that experience, but some people aren't. So I definitely don't take it for granted that I've been able to have that experience. Um, and I am certainly someone that does not think that sex is overrated. I think, if anything, I think that sex is not appreciated. Um, so yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up um the cognitive abilities because that's something I've been struggling with on this app. Plus, random people asking me for money, as we know, which you're just
Well,
you're just gonna get sent to Uncle Block's house, okay?
yeah. And listen, like, that brings up the other thing that is a little bit of a concern is there are people out there that are looking to scam people online, and they're doing it through a lot of dating profiles and things like that. So that's something that we do touch upon a little bit in Real Talk as well, is like being able to understand who you're talking to online, especially if you happen to be someone who maybe you are somebody who might be easily taken advantage of. Or maybe it's not clear to you when you're talking to somebody if they are not what they seem. You know what I mean? So people, unfortunately, they get scammed a lot. People do. And I'm not just talking about people with disabilities. I'm talking about, there's a lot of old people getting scammed too. I know we brought up old people before. Sorry, boomers. But there's a lot of the older generation that also is just like, because sometimes we'll just kind of believe whatever somebody says to us, right? Like we start chatting with somebody online, they seem to be saying the right things, they seem to be interested in us, and that's where those questions come in is like, okay, how do I know if somebody's being for real or not?
Yeah. And what I've discovered is they can get numbers from anywhere.
Yep.
They can get numbers from anywhere that's not their real number. I wish I had that capability to know how to do that. And they can call you and talk to you and say all these things and then hey, send me money for my heart medication, and I'm an idiot. Okay, sure. I That was like over a year ago. um So just be careful, especially with the populations that we're talking about, the older population and the people with disabilities population. Because as much as I hate to say that um, I'm a disabled person and I'm vulnerable, I hate to say that because I would like to think that I'm strong and I have a good head on my shoulders and everything like that. I still can be taken advantage of. Now, what I don't like is when able bodied people think that just because we're disabled and we're vulnerable, that we're gonna not have any common sense at all and get taken advantage of. And that's not the case. I think disabled people need to be given more credit than a lot of times we are.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
but people have to understand too. I mean, in a lot of ways, we automatically have to trust people. Like in my instance, people have to give me brief changes 2 or 3 times a day. And they have to wipe me in places I wish I would rather be able to wipe myself, but I'm not. And so I have to give them that trust. Number one, that they're not going to try to do something crazy in the middle of a brief change. Number two, that they are, um, that they really care and want what's best for me.
Hmm.
So I'm already in that vulnerable state as it is, but I'm told even though you're vulnerable, you have to trust this person. Guess what? And if the caregiver that you have on a daily basis can't come in and we have to send somebody new, well then guess what? You have no choice. You have to trust that person even though you just met them five minutes ago. So I wish that people without disabilities would give people with disabilities a little bit more grace and stop yelling at us and saying you're too trusting. Well, in a lot of cases, like I just mentioned, we don't have a choice.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. One that people don't really think about. Like you you have DSPs walking through the door and sometimes turnover is really bad. We talked about that last episode where it seems like there's just a revolving door sometimes of staff. And
Right.
so it's like, okay, this person walked in and tonight's a shower night. So you have spent 20 minutes with this person and now you've got to strip completely naked and let them try washing your body for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what really bugs me about the caregiver point of view? A lot of times they will come in and they will say, I don't want to do personal care. And I'm like, and you think we want to have you do it?
Yeah, that one's always tough. I know we talked on that a lot. That's a that's one that irks me. There's not a lot of things that really get under my skin, but DSPs that say they don't want to do personal care is one of them. That's wild.
Yeah, well, I have a shameless plug. I have a video that's going viral right now on my TikTok at Nicolas Comstock. By the way, I hit 76,000 followers today.
Hey.
So yeah. Um, and I just basically said to agencies that if they come in and say they don't want to do personal care, don't even hire them.
Mhm.
I, I, I don't like these agencies that will hire somebody, even though they've made it clear that they don't want to do personal care. They'll send them to a house that doesn't need it. Well, the problem is, what if somebody in that house ends up needing it?
Yeah.
So it's that person who said, no, I already said I'm not going to do this. Are they going to leave the human being in a bad way because they've said, I don't want to do this? And I was told I was going to have to do this, so I'm not. So, in my opinion, that shouldn't be an option. I also want to talk to you about something else in the care field. How do you feel about, and this is where we're going to get into like money and other things. How do you feel about sleep shifts?
As in people who are on site. So in the provider field,
OSOC.
yeah, we call that on site on call. So people are there. They can do whatever they want in that time, essentially. So most people choose to sleep, and they're just there in case somebody needs them.
Yeah, I feel very strongly. Now don't get mad at me, caregivers. I feel very strongly that that needs to go away in all cases. Here's why. Um, because you're there to watch over somebody and make sure that they are good just in case they need you. And if you're sleeping and in a real heavy sleep and one of your clients gets up in the middle of the night and decides to walk outside, now say, well, we were already told that they don't do that. There's a first time for everything.
There is. I mean, you do always run the risk. That's valid. You know,
So, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that I think that there's really a couple ways of thinking about sleep shift. I think that if you are somebody who is generally you sleep through the night, maybe, you're independent enough. And what I mean by that is like something that I think that is growing in the field for sure. And I think it's not a bad idea to revisit with everybody is if they're interested, remote monitoring sometimes makes more sense.
Yeah.
Um, if you're somebody who, I don't know, is like, hey, I'm pretty independent. I just need somebody to make sure that I like take my meds and then I go to bed and I sleep through the night. And if I have an emergency, I know that I could call somebody, right? Like folks like that, I feel like sleep shift is not really necessary. You could do remote monitoring, something along those lines to give them a little more independence, you know? Um, but then I agree with you. There are some situations where if somebody's a heavy sleeper, not everybody sleeps the same. It could happen. It could happen. I've worked with individuals who, they had never tried to wander off in their whole life, and then they just did it one time. And the staff was asleep, and it's not their fault, right? But it just happened that way, and the staff was asleep, and they just wandered out. Um, so it's an interesting topic, I think. I would also say, I know we've touched a little bit on financial stuff before. But one of the things about sleep, like OSOC, we're talking about on-site on-call. I know we're calling it sleep shift, but technically it's not. It's like on-site on-call. You can do anything in that time. It's just most people choose to sleep. Um, the thing about that is like the state doesn't reimburse a whole lot for it.
Yeah.
And so, which on one hand, I kind of get that because if if you are just sleeping, like, why would we reimburse somebody more? But then at the same time, like, they're still working. You know what I mean? Like, sleeping at somebody else's home, an individual's home, where and I've always been this way as a DSP because of what you're saying, like you never know. Somebody might get up, they might need something. So I have always, if I've done overnights where I could sleep, I have not ever slept well because I just am like, I'm kind of in that light sleep where I want to make sure that I don't miss it if somebody needs something or they get up or whatever. So you're still working, And so like sometimes I think that there's just this idea, oh, well, you're just sleeping, so you should get paid like $10 an hour to sleep. And that's not like these folks are still like missing out on being able to be at home.
Well, see, here's the thing though. I know you've said, you're still working, and say that for the people in the back because I've had sleep shifts before. Now, thankfully, or on site on call. Thankfully, mine is all awake and it's gonna continue to be that way because I've had certain situations where I've needed to go in the hospital the middle of the night and I needed my staff to call 911. And if they weren't awake, they wouldn't have heard me like tossing my cookies or anything like that. but I've had, other situations where I was on a sleep shift because I lived with other roommates and they were allowed to, sleep. Because they're not going to pay for double staffing at night. So if two were on, could be on OSOC and one was just up, they weren't going to pay for, you know what I mean? So then I would call for brief changes and they would be like, Nick, this is supposed to be a sleep shift. I have to go to work in the morning. Yes, but you're there to work
You-
still.
You're there to work, yeah. And you might have to get up. That's why, and that's where you get in tricky situations when you refer to it as sleep shift.
Yeah.
That's not technically what it is. So, um, yeah, there might be some times, or there might be times where maybe you're not feeling well, and you're sick all night, and you might be up and down all night. And and the expectation is that a DSP will be up and down with you, taking care of you, helping you. And those are the types of situations where I'm like, okay, but you know, we're not reimbursing people enough to do things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thankfully all my shift is awake and case manager, I know you're listening. It's gonna stay that way. Okay.
Don't change it.
I, I've I've had too bad of experiences. I'll give you one experience. So actually this is when and my case manager doesn't even know the story. It took place a couple years ago. So couple years. Uh so I have grab bars installed in my room where I can pull myself up in bed or help staff roll me over during personal care. Well, I had gotten so high up in the bed that my head had gotten lodged in between the grab bar and I could not move. It got to a point where I could not breathe and I was trying to call the staff and be like, I need your help. Well, they were knocked out cold because, again, it's OSOC on site on call.
Yep. Yep.
I had to call a friend at the time who luckily was already getting up for work because he had to be at work at 4 in the morning. And I was like, I need you to get here now. I gave him my code. I was like, I can't get a hold of staff and I can't breathe. My head got lodged in between the bar. And so, yeah, it's reasons like that. I mean, I've had kidney stones, I've had diarrhea in the middle of the night, and it's just, I don't sleep well as it is. So I
Mhm.
really think an on site on call should be determined on how the client reacts at night. Like if they're, like you said, if they go to sleep, and they sleep all the way through the night, then obviously OSOC would be perfect for that. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I'm actually, and this is where we're going to get into other stuff, Tiff, is I'm actually real concerned because the state's talking about, I hear about different cuts all the time from my case manager. The Medicaid waivers no longer paying for 2-to-1 staffing.
Mm.
Um, for example, like if I want to go on, vacation or something, well, unless another individual is going to come along with me, which that's not the case. And what I mean an individual, meaning another person that needs services is going to come along with me. They're not going to have two staff go on that vacation.
Mhm.
Well,
Which makes sense
it,
because
it makes sense.
the staff that's going with you too, like not only do you might need some extra assistance because it's a new environment, you have no idea what it's going to look like and what you might need, but also like the DSP that's going with you is going to be essentially working 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So you were saying that it doesn't make sense for them not to pay for it. I'm sorry. I think we cut off at
So
that.
it doesn't make sense to not, if people are going to go on long trips like that and they have, pretty extensive needs, then it doesn't make sense not to fund for two staff to go.
Yeah. Even if it's just for one person,
Yep.
because a 24-hour shift is a lot for one person to handle. And also, too, which we're going to get into this, we've talked about the Hoyer lift a lot today, but one of the things
Well, now we're going to talk about the Hoyer lift in an appropriate way.
yes, we're going to talk about it in its appropriate use. uh, but so one of the things that my case manager and I have been fighting for is for me to get an automatic portable Hoyer lift so that I can go on vacation, stay at a family member's house. Not that I'll be staying at a family member's house after this episode, but
Right.
uh but just in case I want to go spend the night somewhere, like next year I've told my staff for my birthday I want to spend 7 days in Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know well, the funding source is saying that's great, use a portable crank lift. Those things are not, I've never felt safe in those.
Yeah.
And the thing with our system is it has to be denied first through Medicaid before the waiver will jump in and decide whether or not they're going to pay for it. Well, what I'm struggling with right now is a lot of DME companies won't even put this request into Medicaid because, according to them, Medicaid will automatically deny it just because it's electric and it's not the one with the pump.
Because
Which,
it's more expensive and they want you to go with the cheaper route.
because it's more expensive. But here's the thing: you guys approve electric wheelchairs all the time. My
Hmm.
my wheelchair is not cheap; it's $30,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And very much needed.
And very much so. Why, I had the same issue when I was trying to get a full electric hospital bed. We'll pay for a semi-electric hospital bed, but we won't pay for a full electric hospital bed because it's more expensive, it's a luxury, and blah blah blah, and you don't really need it.
Yeah.
Well, then if that's what they're going to look at for other things that are really needed, I'm surprised everybody in the state of Ohio or everybody in America, period, isn't going around in manual chairs because nobody will pay for a power chair.
Yeah.
It just, and then here in Ohio, they're saying, well, you have to use a special medical code. And I'm going to try not to laugh when I say this. The medical code is 1369. Now, I
Nice.
would I would change Medicaid, if you're listening, I would change the last two numbers of that billing code. Okay. Just because, well, I'm a horn dog, as we've already discussed.
I was going to say, Nick needs to be able to joke about it. So,
Yeah. And then with this billing code, my case manager's like, well, even with this billing code, we're being told that they won't pay for it. And
mhm.
so a lot of DME companies won't even purchase these automatic Hoyer lifts because of the, here we go again, the reimbursement rate that Medicaid pays.
Yeah.
The lack thereof of the reimbursement rate. So they're like, we'll help you get a normal one all day long with the pump, but we're not gonna risk losing thousands of dollars because a automatic portable one, the one that I'm looking at right now, is 4,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, a DME company is not going to lose $2,500 on a $4,000 item, and I'm just throwing that number out there. And I get it. It's business. We have to look at the money. I get it. But at the same time, if America is going to say we're the greatest country in the world, which I believe we are, if we're going to say we're inclusive for people with disabilities, why do all these damn things like electric hospital bed, fully electric hospital beds, electric portable toilet, why is it like pulling teeth to get these things?
Uh, do you want my nice answer or do you want my honest answer?
Honest, it's Nick Speaks. Speak up, speak out, and speak
Well,
loud.
here's my honest answer. It's probably the one curse word I'm going to throw on your podcast. You can bleep me out if you want. A lot of the people that make decisions about Medicaid funding don't actually give a shit about you. The end. That's my honest answer. They
Yeah,
don't. They don't care. So if they can get away with giving you a cheaper product that they think will work because they don't want to spend the money because they don't care about you, you know. So that's what it is on a basic level. And I know that we don't like to get political on this podcast
let's
all the
get
time. Um, but there is a very real issue in that the government, and I'm not talking about a specific party, I'm just saying the government in general is making a lot of cuts to things like Medicaid, and um, they're doing so because of the wrong reasons. And what I mean by the wrong reasons is people are so worried about, oh, well, what about people that abuse the system? And what about that single mom that's been on welfare for a really long time and maybe she doesn't need to be on welfare anymore? Or what about that family that's buying, expensive food with their food stamps? Like, those are the things that people are throwing out as to why they should cut Medicaid. And really, what Medicaid is serving is hardly any of those people. Yes, there are people that abuse the system, but it is such a small percentage. And
yeah,
what
yeah.
and what it's really doing is hurting people like you, Nick, who need these things because they're like, well, we're not going to spend the money on it. Like, it's 2025. 2025 in the year of our Lord, there is no reason why we shouldn't be having electric things. It's 2025. There's
Yeah.
no, you can't tell me why we shouldn't have electric hospital beds or electric Hoyer lifts or portable electric Hoyer lifts. There's no reason.
Well, here's the thing. I have a ceiling track in my house right now. I better be careful. They may come rip it out after this episode.
Medicaid might be like, never mind now that you talked crap about us.
uh, I have a ceiling lift in my house right now. That's battery operated.
Hmm.
So if you're really interested in saving money, what? I mean, why was that even allowed? I'm shocked. You decided to be the fairy godmother and say, let's put tracks in and make it easy because those are so easy and they're wonderful and they are. And but I'm just like, you're right. The people in Medicaid don't give a shit about me, and it's on either side of the aisle because the people in Medicaid, chances are they've never had a loved one in the system or
Hmm.
they've never experienced disability. You would be surprised about how many people come on they come in my comments on TikTok and they're like, wow, I was able-bodied for so many years and then I was in an accident and I never knew the struggles
Yeah.
until now, and here I am, and I'm like, why does it have to get to that point in order for people to understand?
Hmm.
I I, I don't get it.
That's a tough one. And I think there's a lot of different opinions on that. Um, I am of the personal opinion that if your fellow human is in need of something, you should give it to them.
Yeah,
That's my personal opinion. I know not everybody lives that way, but it it shouldn't take you having somebody directly involved in your life for you to understand what other people might need.
right.
Just because I don't have somebody who has a disability in my life, I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying for an example, just
Right.
because I don't doesn't mean that I can't be an empathetic and compassionate person when it comes to somebody with a disability and understanding, there's a lot of inconveniences. There's a lot of it's cranking a Hoyer lift is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Be honest. I'll do it because I'm a
Well, it is a pain in
DSP.
the ass, but it really takes two people to deal with that.
Because you've got to crank that thing. You've got to be holding that person steady because otherwise they might be swinging in a way that they shouldn't be, and it requires two people to do that. And not only that, but it's hard to crank. It's hard to crank. And
Yeah.
so you are also putting people at risk of being injured. They might hurt their back, they might hurt their shoulder. Like I said, it is 2025. I don't understand why we wouldn't, in the greatest country in the world, provide electronic devices for people.
Well, and that's why the double staffing would be great on 2-on-1 when I'm going on trips and public speaking or just trips in general. And I was just talking to my agent before we taped this episode today. And I said to him, we're going to have to put it in my contract because the state does not want to pay for 2-on-1 staffing. And so I'm going to have my speaking fee and then all that other stuff included because there's no way that I'm going to say it's okay for a staff member who's taking 2 or 3 days out of their lives while I go on a speaking engagement or a vacation. There's no way that I'm going to say to them, I'm sorry, you're not going to get paid.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, and I know Ohio kind of has a policy already where, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I think it's kind of all around the country where, like, if an individual that typically needs services at home wants to go on a vacation and they require the assistance of a staff, well, then they're going to have to pay for that staff member's hotel or airfare or something to that effect. Well, and my answer has always been why. And they're like, well, you want that service, so you have to pay for it. And I'm like, but I need the service at home.
Right. I would pay for it at home, you know, but what I mean by that is I would pay for it through my waiver at home, right?
Yeah.
And that is that's always been interesting to me because you're right. It's not fair to make you pay to have to bring along a caregiver that you need, but it's also not fair to make a caregiver who has to come along with you to pay for their stuff. So it's like, okay, if you were going to spend the waiver money at home, then let's spend it here, right? So, yeah.
I'm not saying states pay for vacation.
Right, right.
I'm saying pay for the regular amount of services that you would pay for when I'm at home as if I was on vacation because I wouldn't be able to go on vacation if I didn't have the care that I need
Yep.
or the Hoyer lift that I need. Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, I get so frustrated because I feel like, and I've been in two different states, I feel like some people, you know, like maybe not all, but I feel like some case managers or some higher ups at Medicaid who have no idea what we go through on a daily basis get glee out of telling people with disabilities no, because then they're like, well, they've already come this far and they figured their life out so far, so let's just give them something else to figure out. Yeah, like,
Yeah. Listen, why not go pull up your bootstraps or whatever it is that people say? Um, yeah, it's
well, I can't even stand up in a pair of boots, so yeah.
um yeah, I don't know. That's a situation where it's like you see all these good things, right? Like you're seeing all these good things coming out from like DODD, for example. And again, I love DODD, no shade. Where they're coming out with these big things of like people need to live independently. They need to be able to do all the things that they want to do in their life. And, they should be able to have the ability to do those things. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Totally. You should be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. Like it's your life. Let's make it happen. But it's like, how can you put that philosophy out there, but then not back it up? And it's like, but well, we can't really give you additional funding for a vacation.
Yeah. We and when
Okay.
we say additional funding for vacation, we need additional funding for staffing.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm not saying, oh, pay for my trip to Disney World and my hotel and my meals. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I can't go to Disney World unless I have a staff with me. Can you please pay for that staff to go?
And sometimes that would require a second staff.
Hmm.
Because honestly, in my case, Tiffany, I don't think 260 pounds is that big, but I don't stand up on a regular basis. No pun intended. I don't bear any weight, not because I don't want to, but because I don't have to, because I can't.
Yeah.
And so 260 pounds is a lot of dead weight. It just is. And I used to get so offended when my family members would look at me and be like, well, he's dead weight.
Hmm.
Just like, why do you have to be like that? But no, I understand now.
I understand, but like, you ain't got to say it like that, though,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? But you're right. Like, half of that weight, 130 pounds, that's heavy to lift. When you're lifting something that cannot assist you and it's awkward, and yeah, even 100 pounds is heavy to lift.
Oh, what I would give to be 130 pounds.
Yeah, I will never get to 130 pounds. That ain't happening. That ain't.
Well, it would be like, give up Taco Bell, give up Penn Station, which I'm never doing. By the way, all these restaurants that I've mentioned today, please consider sponsoring me. Uh
We're talking about you, Taco Bell. Come on.
yes, yes, and we need to up the game on those Nacho Bel Grandes because they're not as good as I remember. I'm sorry, they're just not. So
No, and why'd they get rid of the Mexi Melt?
Uh, didn't they bring that back on the decades menu? They got rid of it again.
They got rid of it again. They brought it back for a hot minute, and I was thrilled. And then they got rid of it again. Like, how
Oh my god!
you have all the ingredients there to make it? Just make it.
Come on, Taco Bell. That's like,
We have such weird complaints, Nick. We're
well, no. Here's the thing, and I jumped on this train when I did a TikTok video about it, and we'll wrap this up in just a minute. Um, so I'm a fan of Arby's.
hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Arby's, so I got online. I said, Arby's has a wonderful Italian sub, which they do, in my opinion. It's really good. And, but then somebody in their marketing department, I guess, must have like said, had a really bad day or either smoked some really bad Mary Jane.
Yikes.
Because they've come out with these new steak bites and this new steak bite sandwich. And honestly, I think somebody signed a marketing deal with PetSmart.
Mm. Okay. Not sure where you're going with this, Nick, but be careful because we don't want Arby's lawyers reaching out.
Because, well, I because it's like those steak dog treats, like
Yes.
yeah. So stay away from. I'll just be nice because well, actually I do have lawyers, but I don't try the steak bites from Arby's.
The steak bites are no good.
Just don't.
I have no opinion on them because I haven't had them, so I don't know. But Nick says stay away from steak bites. Tiff says Taco Bell. Tiff says Taco Bell needs to bring Mexi Melts back. That's what you need to know.
Yes, it is. So, did we get through everything today, or am I missing some other things that we were gonna?
I think we got through the main things. I think we did.
We did. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't even think I said my tagline today. Maybe I did. I don't know. But this has been not the Playboy channel. This
Nope.
has been the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most, which sometimes includes raisins and potato salad and sex.
Having sex.
So uh so I really hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. If you're offended, sorry, not sorry. This is what Nick Speaks is all about. So, and check out Tiffany's Real Talk classes. She's really cool. We're going to have her email in the bio and where you can get in touch with her and all that cool stuff. And if it hasn't been said already, children shouldn't listen to this episode. I guess it's not the right time
I
to.
mean, if you're this far into the podcast, then it's too late.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll do the. My producer, actually, the last time you said something about a parental, he did it. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did see that.
I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Okay. Well, anyway, this is the Next Piece podcast, and I will see you next Tuesday. Tiffany, thanks for being here.
Been fun as always.
You're awesome.
All right, thanks, Nick.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye, y'all.